Hi, I'm Tommy Moore from the Bartitzer Lab, and in this video I want to go through a basic tool known as the crime triangle. The crime triangle is really important when you're trying to convey content, when you're trying to convey important stuff to people that don't spend a huge part of their day thinking about self-defense or self-protection. So this is something I use for audiences that are typically a little less aware, but it's a very useful way to put them in the right mindset and look at all the non-martial things they can do to make themselves a little bit safer. So, if we look at the crime triangle, we've got the opportunity. So the opportunity to commit the crime. And this, if we're looking at this from a self-defense, self-protection angle, this could be home invasion, this could be street crime, this could be your typical confrontation in the pub. It could be any number of things, any number of crimes. But the opportunity, the window of time in which to do it. You've got the skill or the tools to do it. So the skill could be, for example, that they're a bit handy. They've been in lots of fights. They know how to hit. They know how to punch. They know how to wrestle. It could be that their skill is in deception. They're really good at sucker punching people. They're really good at tricking people. They're really good at bringing down your awareness or bringing down your guard in order to fulfill a fight and make it easy for them. By the same token, they may have the skills, they may also have the tools to complete those skills. So in a very simple form, they may be skilled at threatening people with a knife, and they may have a knife. It may be that their skill is breaking into a property, and they have the right picks, the right crowbars, whatever else they need to do it. But the skills and the tools. And this third part here is the desire, the will to commit the crime. Now, there are many areas of this which are completely out of your control and you can do nothing about them. So let's look at the skills and tools. There's no real way for you to preempt or understand in advance what skills and tools a person is likely to have. So in any one situation where you and yours may be at risk, it's going to be very hard for you to discern a skill level. It's very hard for you to understand if they're tooled and what tools they have until it's too late. So there's not much you can do about this. And if you imagine a lot of the people that are perpetrating the crime, they would have spent a long time fostering abilities in these areas. These people typically, you don't get many first-time muggers. Typically the people that are committing crime and they're out of prison right now, they're probably amongst the more successful tier of criminals, or at least they're being successful right now. So there's not much you can do about their skills and their tools, but you should be aware that those skills and tools are likely to be relatively well honed, well tested, practical, simple, and very familiar to the person committing the act. So those skills and those tools for these individuals committing that crime, this is a way that they feed their kids. This is a way that they might feed a habit which is more important to them than anything else in the world. So you got to understand that just because they're not learning or being educated in a formal sense perhaps, these skills and these tools are innate. They are known, they are tested, they are trusted by that person. So you can't really know what they are, or what level they're at, or what tools they have, but you'd be wise to assume that they are tried, they are tested, they are honed, and they are known. There's no real way for you to measure and understand the desire to commit the crime. Some may just be out of bloody-minded dickheadedness, and that can happen. Some people are just cunts. End of. No real rationale to it, no reason, no rhyme, just cunts. They'll always be cunts, their fathers will be cunts, and their children after them will be cunts. But there's also a lot of reasons why someone might desire to commit crime, which you can have some empathy and understanding for. So if you think about people that are in extreme poverty, extreme debt, have extreme addictions, perhaps have certain types of mental health issues, psychosis, all these things might make their desire to do what they want to do and steal what they want to steal be much higher than your desire to keep it. If you imagine for a second what you wouldn't do to feed your son or feed your daughter or pay the bills to look after your mother or many, many other things, what wouldn't you do? If you really start to put yourself in the shoes of many people and you're very desperate and you be poorly educated, have lots of lack of opportunity, if you're really pushed to the limit, you would do a lot of bad stuff to keep the people that you love safe. So never underestimate a person's desire, but again, you cannot measure it, you cannot understand it. It may be petty cuntishness, or it may be that you, your phone, your wallet, and the objects in your house are standing between that person and them ever seeing their daughter again. You don't know. You have no idea. So desire is something which you can assume and should assume is relatively high, just for the sake of surety, but you cannot measure it and you cannot influence it in any way. You cannot influence their skills in any way. You cannot influence their desire in any way. So the only part of the triangle that can keep you safer, really, is the opportunity angle here. Importantly, if you take away any one part of this triangle, it becomes very, very untenable to commit that crime, to commit that assault, to commit that home invasion. It typically needs all three parts of the triangle. So the opportunity, the window of time in which the act happens. Okay, so you've got the opportunity here. What can you do to make sure that that isn't there, that this baseline of opportunity is unavailable for you? And there's a couple of ways in which you could do that. And none of these require any degree of great martial skill. They don't require a great deal of investment or study, but they are important. I'm going to break some of these down for you. Because if you can bolster your abilities in reducing opportunities, you can keep yourself safe. Or you can make yourself a whole lot safer than you otherwise would have been. So, first of these is relatively simple, and that is security. Now, security is a big word, but think about this. The overt security is one of the most important bits. It's no good having a house that on the outside looks relatively normal, but is decked with all the great security gear on the inside. Having all your best cameras and all your best gear on the inside is great after the fact, but you also want to act as a deterrent. So making sure you have overt security, and that could be fences, that could be barbed wire, that could be cameras, that could be dogs, that could be having more sophisticated locks on your windows and on your doors. So you need to be visibly a harder target to access, not just practically, not just in reality, but visibly at a glance. You need to look like a tougher nut to crack. So understanding that your overt security of your property is very, very important. Fences, outside cameras, potentially dogs, signs for dogs. You've got different types of door, locks, making sure that windows are closed, make sure all of the different things that people would check for at a glance. You've ticked all those boxes. It's not rocket science. If you were casually browsing for a mark to hit, if you're looking at that house, does it look tougher than the other houses? Now, there's an argument to say that you don't want to go too far down this vein, because you don't want to look so secured up that you look like you've got lots and lots of valuables. And I think there might be some merit in that, but I think for the average person, with the average amount of money to spend on that, which wouldn't be a huge amount of money, there are certain things you can do which are very, 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 very easy. Getting rid of your Yale-style locks and making sure that you've got a newer generation of door, a newer generation of lock, better security on your conservatory. Conservatories are a nightmare. They're very easy to gain access to. So understanding all of these things and ticking as many of those overt security boxes as possible. You've then got in fact, I'll move down here, fitness and physicality. So whilst you don't need to be fit to defend yourself, being very underweight or overweight is naturally going to make you a much more likely mark if you look like you can't defend yourself. And for good or ill, people equate fitness with fighting skill, at least at a glance. And we're looking at a glance here, because this opportunity, if someone's really, really, really planned to fuck you over, you're being fucked over, because humans are a brilliant, clever, predatory animal that can work with others and do some really bad stuff and some really good stuff. They put their mind to it. So if someone's really invested in doing you over, you're being done over. If people aren't really invested in specifically targeting you, then your overt ability to reduce opportunity is key. So your physical fitness. Do you look like you can physically handle yourself? And it's an easy game to play. If you sit yourself up at a Starbucks or another coffee maker of your choice, watch people go by and think, if I was really desperate and with the lowest possible risk, what kind of person would I attack? like that, just unlocking the screensaver. Professional video content here. Your overt fitness, making sure that you're at an appropriate weight, that you're at appropriate fitness, that you don't look out of breath, that you know, and let's extend fitness into clothing as well. You're not in over constrictive clothing, you're not heavily bogged down, you're not carrying huge amounts of weight, you're not carrying a huge backpack with you, you know, you're not encumbered in any way. You need to look physically fit and able to do normal everyday human tasks. If you look physically fit and able, a bit like in the natural world, the predators will move on to someone that looks less physically fit and able. So whilst it doesn't really have a huge bearing, although it is important to your ability to fight, your ability to do stuff, having an overt element of fitness, element of ability to you is very key. So make sure you do invest in those overt levels of physical ability, physicality. Thirdly, we're going to be looking at awareness. And again, I've put overt because a bit like a driving test, it's okay to have subtle awareness. As soon as you pass that driving test, you are not looking in your mirrors like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. No human in the world does. But it's no good you being aware and people that are sussing you out not knowing you're aware. So making sure that your head's on a bit of a swivel, you're not walking around like the Terminator, but you are physically in tune and mentally in tune with the environment around you. And it could be as simple as, instead of having both headphones in, I have one headphone in, preferably no headphones. That I'm not looking at my phone when I'm in transit. I'm not walking around and staring at the phone. If I am looking at the phone, I've stopped in a safe place. I look and I make sure I look up regularly. Being overtly aware, making people know that you are aware is a very important skill. Making sure that you look like you are looking at and engaged with and aware of your surroundings. And that's much to do with how your eyes move around a place, in where you choose to stand. These are all very important ways to project the right awareness. And projecting that awareness is as important as having the awareness in the first place. And finally, attitude. How people walk, how people look, the tone of their voice. It may well be that I start to talk to you before I suss out if you're a potential opportunity. If you sound weak, if you sound defenseless, if you're being overly polite, if you're not as cautious as you should be, maybe your tone of voice, how you're standing, how you're walking. Imagine this. You know the people that stand outside of shopping centres and they try and get you to sign up to charity? When you want to project fuck off and leave me alone and don't ask for my card details, you have a certain type of look and a certain type of walk. You have a look and a walk which says, speak to the next person. You know, you don't need to be a hard gangster motherfucker to project an air of, I do not have time for this. I do not have time. I do not have will or inclination to engage. I'm moving from here to here. So it's something you can foster and develop, and they're great people to practice on, the charity muggers, known as chuggers in the UK. You know, getting across that you don't have time, don't have will, don't have inclination, you are moving through space. You have an objective. You are going home, you are going to work, fuck anything else. So your attitude, the walk you have, the posture you have, how you work your eyes, you know, what facial expression have you got? You're communicating a huge amount of data without anyone having to speak to you. So make sure the data you're communicating when you're in transit or areas that are vulnerable is really high. Make sure that the data you're transmitting is matching what you want to transmit. Don't fuck with me. Especially if you're moving through transitory spaces. Huge amounts of crime happens between you being in the car and a location, between the car and your house to the car. It's in transitional spaces that attacks tend to happen. So making sure that your attitude in those spaces, that your switch, that your look, that your walk, that your posture, that your tone of voice when spoken to matches a message of, I'm probably best not fucked with. Now, it doesn't mean you have to be rude. You don't need to be aggressive. You just need to be aware and in control. You need to look like a person that is not going to be an easy mark. So if we just come back full circle, the skills and tools you can't do much about. You should be aware of your local endemics. What types of crime happen near me? Because that's important to know. Also, if you're going on holiday, what types of crime happen in that place? And if you go to different types of website, if you go to governmental websites, governmental pages, they can tell you things to look out for when you go for work or for business or for pleasure to a location. You can see what type of crime is endemic to that area and also understand what is endemic to the area in which you live. That's very important. For example, if you live in central London, moped crime is something you need to be aware of, something you can have your head on a bit more of a swivel about than you would potentially in areas of Yorkshire. Being aware of what the endemics are, that's important, but there's not much you can do about the skills and tools of individuals that mean you harm. Having an understanding and empathy of people's desire, so you do not underestimate someone's desire. They're not just after you because they want the 30 quid in your wallet. That 30 quid in your wallet could mean a whole lot more to that individual, a whole lot more. So understand that what matters to you and what matters to them could be very, very different. So never underestimate someone's desire, but again, you cannot know it. You cannot know if the juice is worth the squeeze. You might say, is someone really going to try and fight you to death for 30 quid? If they're relatively switched on and normal and human, probably not. But if that 30 quid allows you to satisfy a habit for a drug which has addled your mind, your body, your soul, it's riddled your life, you are desperate for it, you're as desperate for it as a drowning man wants air. If you're that desperate for that particular hit, maybe your desire is much, 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 much higher. But again, you cannot know it. All you can really do is influence the opportunity. And again, just to reiterate, it's about overt skills and preparation and covert skills and preparation. So covert would be, for example, no one knows how good at self-protection, self-defense, communication you are. Communication is a massive skill to have. If you've got the right communication, you can avoid a lot of this in the first place. So communication skills, your physical protection skills, these are all things that people cannot know. So those are covert. But overt levels, which dampen the opportunity, visible and overt security on your vehicle, steering wheel lock, alarms, on your person, carrying a torch, being aware, and on your home, having the right locks, cameras, alarms, the works, whatever you can afford, spend it here. Having the right body, having the right fitness, making sure that your posture is good, making sure that you're not too overweight, that you're not too underweight, that you don't look like an easy mark. It's an important skill to have, and that's just the truth of it. It's okay to be a bit chubby, it's okay to be a bit skinny, but it's not okay when you look at your own self-defense, self-protection, to be at either extreme here. So make sure that your fitness moves as best towards what would be normal as possible. And that's just the sad truth of it. That your overt awareness, you are on a swivel, you are looking, you are aware. And think of this in a sensory format. Can I see? Can I hear? Can I speak and be heard? Think of all your senses. Can I activate them here? And do I look like a person in tune with an environment? And your attitude, the tone of voice, how you look, how you move your eyes, how you move your body, all of these things project a story about you. And if that story is correct, if that story is don't fuck with me, fuck with someone else, then you've removed an opportunity. So spend a lot of time thinking about this. Spend as much time thinking about this opportunity part as you would any degree of clinch work, palm heels, improvised weapons. All that stuff is lovely, cool and fun. But this area is really, really important if you want to reduce the chances of finding yourself in the middle of the crime triangle. So hopefully you found that useful. Might be something that you can share with your students, with your loved ones. Remind people of how important it is to understand opportunity, because it's the only area you can really have a degree of control over. Enjoy.